Most people think the matrix is the biggest problem, but the war inside you is the real enemy. In the next few minutes, I'll give you a framework for living well through internal cooperation so that you can stop the friction that's draining you. Practical, self-guided, and sustainable. First, I'll lay out the 3 pillars: meaning through connection, creativity and service, and finally, identity defragmentation, accessing all of your resources. Then I'll give you the integration principle that creates the internal conditions to meet life skillfully. By the end of this, you'll be able to tell which pillar is collapsing in real time and what to adjust next so you can continue to engage reality fully without burnout. Awakening without integration creates a new kind of suffering. You can see the system, but you can't live inside it without getting torn apart. It's like driving with the parking brake on. You burn out your engine because one part of you is trying to move forward, while another part of you is trying to keep you immobile for safety. Most personal development teaches you to manage internal conflict, but doesn't teach you how to create internal cooperation and actually release the parking brake. So if you want to live well, the question's not, how do I fix myself? But actually, what internal conditions create the capacity to meet life skillfully? And that's what the 3 pillars are for. Pillar 1, meaning through connection. Meaning doesn't come from achievements or peak experiences. It comes from connection to yourself, to other people, and something beyond individual survival. When you're at war with parts of yourself, connection collapses. You reject your emotions, so you can't hold space for anyone else's. Your nervous system stays in defense, making intimacy threatening. But when your internal systems cooperate, intimacy no longer drains you. Connection becomes nourishing. And that same internal cooperation transforms how you create and contribute. If you want to practice this instead of just listening, I'm building a private self-guided community called Quantum Recess. It's terrain-based, built for real integration, and there are no guru dynamics. Link is in the description. Pillar 2, creativity and service. When you're not fighting yourself, creativity is no longer a battle, and service stops feeling like self-sacrifice. Your subconscious drops the self-sabotage because it trusts you're listening to its concerns. Your nervous system stops creating anxiety around visibility because it knows you can handle what comes next. And your identity becomes flexible enough to try new things without it feeling like existential risk. This is where the anti-matrix becomes practical. You're not following someone else's blueprint for success or meaning. You're authoring your relationship with work, creativity, and contribution based on your actual gifts, values, and genuine interests. What really makes this remarkable is that you can enjoy this process. You can experience pleasure without guilt or self-destruction. You can pursue ambition without anxiety. You can succeed without losing yourself. The problem was never ambition, pleasure, or rest in the first place. The problem was the internal conflict under the surface that turned everything into indulgence or deprivation, workaholism or collapse. When your systems cooperate, you can live the full spectrum of life without self-criticism and internal drama. Pillar 3, identity defragmentation. Most think identity work is finding the real me, but that's just a spiritual way to get typecast. What you actually want is identity defragmentation, not deleting parts of you or rejecting anything. Reorganizing your internal system so you can access your full resources without any lag. Once you have that access, you stop collapsing into one rigid identity that can't hold you. You can hold more possibilities for growth, and you can choose who you need to be based on the context of the moment. When you understand you're not your patterns, you're actually the awareness that can observe them and choose your relationship with them, things fundamentally shift. You no longer need to defend outdated versions of yourself. You're no longer chained to the consistency of who you were 5 years ago. Give yourself permission to evolve, adapt, learn, and grow without triggering your nervous system's threat response. This fluidity trains your subconscious that change doesn't equal abandonment or annihilation. It removes the existential resistance. Growth becomes collaborative instead of combat. When you're regulated and integrated, You can hold more potential without collapsing into versions of you that you've outgrown. Change becomes natural again once your whole system is on board. When all of this comes together, when your nervous system feels safe, when your subconscious begins to trust your conscious choices, and your identity is flexible enough to support your evolution, life becomes simple. Not because life is easy. You'll still face challenges, loss, uncertainty, and layers of complexity. But you're no longer fighting yourself while navigating them. You'll have access to your full intelligence and resources. You'll be able to think clearly under pressure, feel deeply without being overwhelmed, connect intimately without losing yourself, and create meaningfully without burning out. This is what living well actually means. Not having old patterns steal your bandwidth or getting in your own way. Having resources available and creating meaningful connections that enhance life across the board. True mastery isn't about perfecting yourself. It's about creating internal conditions that support your desired reality. You don't eliminate challenges altogether. Instead, you develop the internal capacity to meet them skillfully. That capacity creates what I call sustainable thriving. Now, to make this practical, here's a self-guided protocol you can deploy in real time and a sustainable way to reorient that gets stronger the more you practice it. When the internal war ignites, most people reach for a new technique or try to force an upgrade to stick, and that creates more friction rather than integration. Here's what you do instead. Step 1 is diagnosis. Name the collapsing pillar. Don't overthink it, pick the closest match. If it's pillar 1, meaning through connection, you'll feel isolated, guarded, resentful, or emotionally shut off. Even small contact starts to feel like a threat, and you stop experiencing connection as nourishing. If it's pillar 2, creativity and service, you'll either go numb and avoid things, or you'll push so hard that contribution comes at a cost. You lose the feeling of aliveness, and output becomes pressure. If it's pillar 3, identity defragmentation, you become extremely rigid, feeling like you have to be one version of yourself in order to be safe. Growth starts feeling dangerous, and you start defending outdated identities as a survival reflex. Once you've identified the pillar, step 2 is the mechanism. Notice the compensation loop. When one pillar collapses, the other two try to compensate. That's why spirals feel so chaotic. You try to solve a connection collapse with productivity, or solve a fear with control. You try to solve exhaustion with stimulation, and that's the moment you start burning your engine out. Step 3 is the integration principle in action. Rebuild the internal conditions that create capacity. So here's the reorientation. 3 moves. First, remove one source of friction, one unnecessary argument, one doom scroll loop, one demand you don't actually have to meet today. Second, restore one stabilizing condition, not 5, 1. So if connection is collapsing, restore contact in a way your nervous system can tolerate. Regulated breath, one honest message, one moment of privacy and dignity. If creativity is collapsing, restore contribution in small doses. 5 minutes of real output, one paragraph, one voice note, one tiny build that doesn't cost you. If identity flexibility is collapsing, restore permission. Allow yourself to be a different version of you in that moment and remind yourself that you're still safe. Third, take one small aligned action. The point is to prove to your subconscious that cooperation is real. And this is where boundaries become non-negotiable, because you cannot maintain sustainable thriving while you keep feeding the inputs that destabilize your system. Let me be absolutely clear what we're talking about here. Living well isn't perfection, and it isn't a life without problems. Life will always include loss, conflict, uncertainty, and pain. The goal isn't to avoid these. It's to meet them without adding a second layer of suffering by fighting yourself while it's all happening. This also isn't about becoming so healed that you don't have human needs, emotions, or limits. You're still human. And it's not about optimizing yourself into some idealized version. This isn't perfect performance. It's expanding capacity. And the most liberating truth is this. You don't have to be perfect to live well. You just have to stop fighting yourself. When you really understand that, everything changes. You stop trying to fix yourself and start building conditions that let your system cooperate. You stop managing internal conflict and start creating internal alignment. You stop defending against life and start meeting it directly. Real success isn't a life without problems. It's having your internal systems support you in meeting whatever arises with clarity, connection, and creative power. And that support doesn't come from eliminating parts of yourself. It comes from integrating them, so your full intelligence and resources are available for what actually matters to you. Before you go, I'd like to hear from you. What does living well mean to you personally?